In the official record for the year 1884, there is an account from the deep Arctic winter. It describes a trail in the snow, the tracks of a man running, clear signs of terror in his stride. But the tracks of his pursuer are simply not there. The snow is a perfect, unbroken sheet, a predator perfectly adapted to leave no evidence at all. This isn't folklore. It is a field note, buried in plain sight by the Smithsonian institution, documented by the father of American anthropology, Franz Boas, a man whose entire world was built on logic. And he was about to see that logic shatter. To understand how a mind like that could shatter, you have to see what it was made of first. You have to go back with me to the winter of 1884, to a place called Baffin Island, in the high Canadian Arctic. Here, a young physicist and geographer named Franz Boas is living through the polar night. This isn't just a long night. It is months of absolute, unbroken darkness. The temperature drops to 40, sometimes 50 degrees below 0 Celsius. It's a cold so profound, so alien, that a man's spit freezes into a crystal before it can even touch the ground. And the silence. The silence is the strangest part. Fresh, dry snow covers everything, and it doesn't reflect sound, it absorbs it. It's like the entire world has been put on mute. A perfect, heavy, deafening quiet. This is the world Boas has chosen. His mission, as a man of science, is to document the lives of the local Inuit. He lives in their igloos. He learns their language. He shares their food. And in the evenings, by the dim, flickering light of a seal oil lamp, he listens to their stories. Stories of spirits that ride the northern lights, of monstrous beasts that hunt in the dark. He carefully writes them down in his journal. But to him, they are just that. Stories, cultural fictions, data points for his research, but nothing more. While the elders speak of myth, Boas is a man of measurement. His mind is a fortress built of empirical fact. He spends his hours meticulously charting weather patterns, measuring the craniums of seals, proving to himself over and over that the world operates on predictable, physical laws. Anything that cannot be weighed, measured, or proven is simply superstition. In this vast, isolating world steeped in myth, he is a solitary agent of logic. But a fortress is only as strong as the world outside allows it to be, and in the absolute, muffled silence of the Arctic, even the smallest sound can travel an impossible distance. One night, a sound he had never heard before would find its way through the thick snow walls of his igloo, a sound that didn't belong, and it would be the first tremor in the foundation of his entire world. That tremor, when it came, was not a roar, but a whine. It slipped in after the elder's words, his odd distinction about silence still hanging in the warm, lamp-lit air. The seal oil lamp cast a fragile peace. Voices kept to murmurs until a single, high-pitched keening from the sled dogs outside cut the quiet. It rose and wavered, thin and strained, and was joined by others until the packed snow above them seemed to vibrate with it. No bark, no snapping challenge, just that keening, stretched so tight it felt ready to tear. Boas knew his team. He knew the explosive bark that met a stranger, the low, rolling growl that would face down a polar bear. This was neither. Their voices were high, as if each animal were trying to swallow its own noise. Claws raked at the snow outside, then at the packed wall of heat, and heavy bodies slammed against it. Not in attack, but in blind attempts to get in. The igloo shuddered. The lamp quivered. Boas trusted patterns, and nothing in this matched what he knew. When danger came, these dogs met it with teeth and noise. Now every sound was turned inward, every muscle straining not toward the threat, but away from whatever waited in the dark. A woman by the lamp drew her child closer, The talk that had filled the igloo thinned, then stopped. The only movement left was the elder's hands on the line, until they weren't. He froze halfway through a stitch. The bone needle hung in the air, thread trailing from fingers gone stiff and pale around it. Color left his cheeks, not with the quick jolt of surprise, but with the slow settling of recognition. His gaze did not search the others. It went at once to the low tunnel of the entrance, as if he already knew where the night would try to come through. Outside, the dogs' bodies kept hammering the walls, thuds breaking the snow-packed hush, but the usual chorus was missing. No curses from the men, no shouted commands, not a single barking snarl. For animals that could turn a bear into noise, this thin, broken crying was its own kind of silence. When he finally spoke, his voice slid between the blows on the wall. "A bear," he said, "makes them angry. This makes them silent." The last word had barely left him when the keening outside snapped off, cut in mid-breath. From the tunnel came a dragging push, human weight in the snow, bowing the hide flap inward. And before that final, terrible silence could fully settle in the small space, another sound cut through it. Not from outside, but closer. A frantic scrabbling from the low, narrow entrance tunnel, like a desperate animal clawing its way to safety. Yet the shape forcing its way in was a man. A figure burst through the opening on all fours, gasping, sucking at the frigid air. Boas recognized him instantly. It was Alua. This was not just any man. This was the settlement's finest hunter, the one people watched when the ice cracked or the weather turned without warning. His composure, his strength, his knowledge of the ice were the bedrock of this entire community. Boas had once stood on the shore ice and watched him hold his ground as a polar bear advanced and then veered away, turned back by that steady gaze and unshaking hand. If something had broken Alua, then the community's sense of what could be faced and survived had broken with him. But the man scrambling into the igloo was not that hunter. In the flicker of the oil lamp, his face looked stripped of everything Boas recognized. His mouth hung half open, jaw locked so tight the muscles jumped beneath the skin. The skin around his eyes was pulled taut. The lids had drawn back so far that the whites showed almost all around the iris. His gaze did not settle on Boas or anyone else. It slid past them, fixed on some point no one else could see. There were no wounds, no blood. Only this naked, overwhelming fear written into every line of him. Alua made it 2 meters onto the floor before his body gave out. He didn't just fall. He collapsed, his powerful frame folding as if every muscle had been severed at once. His shoulder hit the packed snow with a dull thud that seemed to shiver through the igloo and set the lamp flame trembling. Immediately, his body was racked with violent convulsions. His back arched, his limbs twitched and jerked against the hard floor, boots drumming an erratic pattern in the close air. Outside, the dogs had gone utterly silent. The man of legendary stillness was now a wreck of uncontrolled motion. Boas was already moving, knees slipping on the polished snow as he reached Alua. He slid a hand under the hunter's head to keep it from striking the floor, turned him slightly so he would not choke if he vomited, the practiced motions of training overriding the detached observer for once. For Boas, the anthropologist fell away. In his place stood the physician. His mind raced, cycling through possibilities. A seizure. He had seen convulsions with fever, with infection. Spoiled meat, perhaps, some poison in the fat. Long hours on the ice, exhaustion, cold, hunger. He looked for a cause, a rational trigger for such an extreme reaction. But as he knelt by the twitching form, the familiar explanations began to fray. Alua's pulse hammered fast but strong beneath his fingers. His skin was cold from the night, not hot with sickness. There was no smell of alcohol, no sign of injury, no history Boas knew of fits or fainting. Every part of his training insisted the cause had to be somewhere inside the body, in blood or brain or nerves, even if he could not yet name it. Yet the image that wouldn't leave him was not of organs failing, but of Alua's eyes as he came through the tunnel. Wide, unseeing, fixed on something still out there in the dark, beyond the dogs. Boas forced himself to push that thought aside, but it remained, thin and persistent, that whatever had done this had reached the man through what he had seen, not what had touched him. For a man of science, it was not a conclusion, only a possibility he had no language for, and it was lying convulsing under his hands. In the quiet that followed the convulsions, Franz Boas did what he was trained to do. He imposed order. He ran through the symptoms in his head as he wiped the frost from his glasses. Sudden screaming, stripping off clothing, the wild sprint toward the door, then collapse. In his notebook, he wrote a single word he already knew from the medical literature back home. Pibloktok. In the psychiatric reports he had studied before coming north, Pibloktok was listed under what they called Arctic hysteria, a culture-bound seizure, terror, frenzy, then amnesia. On the page, Alua's fit matched it almost line for line. The label steadied him. This, he told himself, was familiar territory. He closed the notebook halfway and spoke, more to the elder than to the unconscious hunter. "In our medicine," Boas said carefully, "this is called Pibloktok, Arctic hysteria. His body was seized by fear. It is an illness of the mind, not of spirits." The elder listened, his lined face turned toward the lamp. "His mind is strong," he answered at last, voice low. Something outside frightened him. Boas let the comment hang and finished his note. The diagnosis was written. Now, fixed. Hours passed. The seal oil lamp had burned lower, its flame a smaller, steadier eye. The wind outside no longer shook the snow walls. It pressed against them in a constant, muffled weight. On the sleeping platform, Alua's breathing shifted, from the shallow rasp of exhaustion to a slow, even pull of air. He opened his eyes. They were clear. No wildness. No confusion. When he pushed himself upright, it was with the controlled movement of a man used to handing his body heavy work. His hands rested loosely on his knees. Boas, watching, felt his own shoulders unclench. "Do you remember what happened?" Boas asked in Inuktitut, the word slow, rehearsed from his months of practice. Alua did not answer immediately. He looked past Boas, toward the low tunnel that led outside, as if measuring a distance only he could see. "I was coming back from the ice," he said. His voice was rough but steady. "The air was clear. I heard nothing, but I knew something was behind me. Not a feeling. It was there. Following." He raised his hand, tracing a line in the air at the height of his hip. "Like a dog," Alua went on, "but wrong. Its skin was dark, like wet leather. Almost no hair. Only here." He touched the corner of his mouth, then his bare ankle, then lifted a hand behind him to indicate the tip of an invisible tail. Around the mouth, on the feet, at the very end of the tail. He met Boas's eyes. It did not move like an animal that is afraid. It moved like it was thinking. It wanted me. Boas had lifted his pencil to capture the words. Halfway through Alua's description, the pencil stopped. He knew this creature. Not from the ice outside, but from his own handwriting. In an earlier section of the same notebook, copied from an elder's account for his official report, he had written a line that now surfaced with uncomfortable clarity. A phantom in the shape of a huge dog, almost without hair. Hair only at the mouth, the feet, and the points of the ears and of the tail. Kiarn. At the time, he had treated it as belief, as ethnographic data, a neat example of what the people here feared in the dark. Now the same pattern of hair, the same huge dog almost without hair, was being given back to him not as lore, but as testimony from a man whose legs had just been locked by a measurable convulsion. Boas flipped back a few pages until he found the entry. The inked description of the Kiarn sat there on the paper in his own careful script, while Alua's voice continued in the small house. The two accounts lay side by side, spirit and sighting, myth and symptom, sharing details down to the mouth and the feet. He needed them to belong to the same world. Boas shut the notebook and rested his palm on the cover. When he spoke again, his tone had shifted from observer to lecturer. "Listen," he said, addressing both men now. "In our country, there is a disease of animals, of dogs, of wolves, a sickness of the skin. We call it mange. The hair falls out. The body looks dark and smooth like leather. Sometimes the hair stays only in small places, around the mouth, on the feet, on the tail." Alua's brow tightened a fraction. "Such an animal," Boas continued, "would look like the spirit you speak of. A real wolf. Very sick. Anyone who saw it in the dark would be afraid. The fear makes the fit we call piblok talk. Your body is not cursed. You were frightened by a sick wolf." He laid the chain out piece by piece. Disease, appearance, fear, seizure. It was clean. It accounted for the Kiarn description in his notes, and for the convulsions he had just witnessed, without needing a phantom that thought. Alua sat very still. The elder watched Boas over the small flame. "I was not mad," Alua said quietly. "I was awake. I saw it. It came close. I felt no breath from it. I heard no sound in the snow." Boas opened his notebook again, as if the act could summon more authority. "When a man is afraid," he said, choosing his words, "he sometimes believes what is not there. The mind makes spirits from shadows. The body follows. That is what our doctors write." The elder's gaze did not waver. When he spoke, it was without heat, as if he were correcting a detail in a hunting story. "A sick wolf," he said, "would leave tracks." The room settled into the sound that followed. The faint burn of the lamp, the distant push of wind. Boas's hand stayed poised above the paper, fingers cramped around the pencil that did not move. In his field notes, a rational pattern had seemed secure. Piblok talk in the medical texts, Kiarn in the ethnographic report, Mange in the veterinary manuals. Here, on this packed snow platform, a man who had never seen a European book had taken that pattern and removed its center with a single sentence. If a sick animal had chased Alua, there should be evidence of its passing. Impressions in the snow, a measurable trail. The record should not simply end at the edge of fear. Boas felt something harden under the embarrassment, a colder, narrower resolve. If he stayed inside, if he accepted that line about tracks without testing it, he would be conceding his world to the invisible. He slid the pencil into the spine of the notebook and looked toward the low tunnel that led out into the dark. If reason was to survive this night, it would not be by argument. It would be by his own 2 eyes on the snow. He would go out himself, follow Alua's path, and find the marks a sick wolf had to have left, or stand in the empty whiteness where they should have been. Inside the igloo, the air grew thick with a silence heavier than any argument. The seal oil lamp by the wall hissed softly, its smoke and the damp musk of hides pressed close, making the space feel even smaller. The elder's words, "A sick wolf would leave tracks," still sat between them, the last thing spoken. Around Boas, shoulders had tightened, eyes had dropped. Earlier pleas not to follow the thing outside had gone nowhere. The record does not give us his thoughts in that moment. It shows only this: he stood. For a man who had built his life on measurement and cause, a predator that killed without tracks was not just frightening, it was nonsensical. He moved with a quiet, rigid purpose. He checked his rifle. The metallic click sounded too sharp under the low ice ceiling. For a brief second, the barrel brushed the packed snow floor. A small, clumsy touch. He tightened his grip until it stilled. He lit the lantern, the wick sputtering before the flame took hold, and rose into a contained, wavering sun in his hand. Its light ran over the curve of the elder's face, over the set jaw, and the hand, still resting on his knee. Someone near the entrance shifted as if to speak. Fur rustling. A woman pulled her child closer, eyes wide with a warning Boas pretended not to see. He did not ask them again to explain their fear, and he did not offer comfort. He simply turned toward the door. From the outside, it is just a man picking up a gun and a light. He pushed aside the hide flap and stepped out. The cold hit him in a single, solid wave, snapping at the skin around his eyes and stripping the warmth from his lungs. His first step into the snow made a small, crisp sound. The night did not give it back. Behind him, the murmur of voices rose, and then was cut off as the flap fell closed, sealing the glow of the igloo away. In front of him, there was only the blind slope of snow and a sky without edges. He stood there for a moment, a solitary figure between the faint orange smudge behind him and the unlit ice ahead. The lantern in his hand threw a tight circle of yellow over the snow. Individual crystals and the texture of his own boot prints suddenly clear, while beyond that ring, everything flattened into a single dark plane. He was outside the warmth now, outside the shared fear, outside the small human space where the story could still be argued instead of tested. Somewhere out there, if the world worked the way he believed, there would be tracks, blood, a body, something he could point to. There was another possibility he could not name and would not turn back from now. That whatever waited at the edge of his light would make not knowing feel kinder. He took the first step into that darkness. And then another. The lantern swung low by his side, its light a restless pendulum painting a small, fleeting circle of yellow on the infinite white canvas. He followed the direction the elder had pointed, his rifle cold and heavy in his other hand. It didn't take long to find them. Alua's footprints. They were just as the elder had described, not the tracks of a man walking, but of a man running for his life. They were deep, erratic, plunging violently into the soft powder, the marks of someone fleeing in a state of pure, animal terror. Boas knelt, holding the lantern close. He was a scientist. He needed data. And now, for the second set of tracks, the pursuer. With the meticulous precision he'd apply to an archaeological dig, he began his search. He held the lantern out, casting its beam just to the left of Alua's frantic trail. Nothing? The snow was a perfect, undisturbed blanket. A flawless, unwritten page. He stood up, his breath misting in the frigid air, and walked another 20 feet down the path. Again, he swept the light to the right of the tracks. The same, utterly pristine. He cast the light in wider and wider arcs, his heart beginning to beat a little faster. There was nothing. Just Alua's tracks, alone, scarring the perfect surface of the snow. His mind, a machine built on logic and physical law, began to race. Hypothesis 1. The wind. Wind scouring could erase tracks. He rejected it instantly. He was an expert in Arctic snow dynamics. The wind could not possibly erase one set of tracks while leaving another, inches away, perfectly preserved and deep. The edges of Alua's prints were still sharp. Hypothesis 2. A shallow layer of surface ice. Perhaps the pursuer was lighter, breaking a crust that was then blown away. He reached down with a gloved hand. The snow was soft, yielding. There was no crust. Every rational explanation he could summon was dismantled by the simple, physical evidence right in front of him. He stood up and switched off the lantern. He stood there, in the immense, consuming silence of the polar night, surrounded by an impossible reality, the tracks of the hunted, with no tracks of the hunter. The evidence before his eyes violated the most fundamental laws of his world. A thing cannot chase another thing through soft snow and leave no trace. It cannot. And yet, it had. In that moment, something inside Franz Boas, the rigid, foundational certainty of his entire life, simply broke. At this moment, Boas's entire understanding of the physical world is broken. Before we hear the elder's explanation, what is your theory? How can a creature chase a man through the snow and leave absolutely no trace? Let me know your best scientific or creative explanation in the comments. For Boas, standing alone in the darkness, there was no theory left. Physics had failed him. Causality had failed him. But back in the warmth of the igloo, an elder waited. An elder who was not surprised by this impossibility. An elder who, Boas was beginning to realize, with a new and profound kind of dread, operated under a different set of laws entirely. Not of myth, but of a biology so terrifying, it had no need for footprints. Boas stood frozen, not by the cold, but by the clean, unbroken snow. Before him lay the deep, frantic tracks of the fleeing man, Ottawa, and beside them, nothing. A perfect, smooth void where the prints of a pursuing predator should have been. Physics had simply failed. His scientific mind, his entire worldview, was fracturing in the silent, immense cold. Then, a shadow detached itself from the deeper darkness. The elder. He had followed Boas out onto the ice, his movements as quiet as the falling snow. He looked not at the tracks, but at the scientist's face. He saw the shattered look of a man whose foundational beliefs had just been erased. And in that moment, the elder made a decision. This was a lesson that could not be left untaught. He didn't offer a ghost story. He didn't speak of spirits. His voice was low and matter-of-fact, a teacher correcting a student's flawed equation. He gave the thing a name. The Kiarn. Boas flinched. A sharp intake of breath that turned to ice in his lungs. The elder continued, his words painting a picture of chilling biological precision. The Kiarn, he explained, is hairless. Its skin is like dark, smooth leather, except for a few specific places. Its mouth, its ears, its tail, and the soles of its feet. Boas took a small, involuntary step backward. He could feel the elder's words landing like stones, building a structure of terror in his mind. Then came the final, devastating piece of the puzzle. The elder gestured to the impossible snow with a mittened hand, his voice dropping to a near whisper, delivering the very words Boas would later transcribe in his secret report for the Smithsonian. The hair on its feet, the elder said, acted like a muffler and a broom. A muffler and a broom. In that instant, the paradox that had broken Boas's mind was solved. The mystery vanished, replaced by a horror far more profound. This wasn't a phantom that defied physics. This was a living, breathing predator that had evolved to master its environment so perfectly it had become untraceable. A creature that moves in absolute silence, while simultaneously sweeping away the very evidence of its own passage. Boas's eyes darted into the oppressive darkness around them, a darkness that was no longer empty. It was full. His fear was no longer an intellectual puzzle. It was the primal, stomach-clenching terror of a prey animal that has just realized it is being watched by something it can never see. The Kiarn was a perfect predator, a masterpiece of lethal adaptation. But what does a man of science do with a perfect truth that science itself cannot accept? What happens when the only evidence you have is a story told in the dark and a chilling absence in the snow? That terror followed Franz Boas back to the igloo. The man who ducked through the low entrance was not the one who had stepped out onto the ice. The confident scientist, so sure of his measured world, had been stripped away. What came back was a scribe, sober, shaken, and suddenly careful with every detail. He opened his journal by the flickering light of a seal oil lamp and began to document the event, not as a myth, not as a fever dream brought on by the cold. He set it down as a factual entry, with the precision of an anthropologist describing a ritual. He included the creature's name, Kiarn, and the elder's simple, chilling explanation for how it could move without leaving a trace. Years passed. Boas left the Arctic and became what history now calls the father of American anthropology. His papers and monographs would define the field for a century, and at the height of that authority, he did something quietly radical. He included the account, the entire story, not buried in a private notebook, but in his major report for one of the most respected scientific bodies in the country, the Smithsonian Institution. In 1888, the Bureau of Ethnology published it in their 6th annual report under the title, The Central Eskimo, a public, government-funded scientific document. Inside that report, in the section where Boas catalogs Inuit beliefs and stories, there's a small entry under the word Kiarn, the name he uses for the being the elder had called Kiarn. The description of the creature appears there word for word from his field notes. It is the very paragraph you can see highlighted on the page. On paper, it is almost a footnote, one short paragraph in a thick volume of dense type, surrounded by other notes on beliefs and practices. By shelving it there, inside a catalog of what these people believe, the text itself tells the reader how to treat it. As culture, not as a possible report about the physical world. And that framing is what makes this account so quietly unsettling. The story of the Kiarn, of the Kiarn, was never suppressed. It was never locked in a vault. It has been sitting for more than a century in a public Smithsonian report anyone can download or pull from a library shelf. If you take Boas at his word, that small paragraph describes something that does not sit comfortably inside our current biology or physics. Yet on the page it reads like a minor cultural curiosity, almost a footnote, waiting in plain sight, easy to skim past. What played out here is not a conspiracy of locked doors and missing pages. It's closer to a conspiracy of dismissal. The account is acknowledged, translated, carefully typeset, and then filed under folklore, shelved as an example of belief rather than as a troubling observation. No one has to tell readers to ignore it. The label does that work. The result is not a secret kept from us, but a piece of the record, whatever you think it points to, that we were quietly taught to read past. The world is filled with entries like this, small, unsettling fragments filed away in the archives of science, hidden not by shadow, but by classification. If you want to uncover more of them, through old reports and forgotten footnotes, subscribe and continue this journey with us.